Hello everyone. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share with you a conversation I had with Kate Chaney on the 22nd of August this year. Kate, as you know, is the recently elected federal member for Curtin, the electorate in which the University of Western Australia is located. She was one of a large group of independents who were elected to the federal parliament this year. So it's terrific to have had the opportunity to talk to her. Kate wasn't available to come to our meeting this evening because of parliamentary sitting dates, and she very generously agreed to pre-record a conversation with me. Well, hello, Kate. It's fabulous to have you here, and congratulations on your appointment. That's really special, so we're all very thrilled in here.
Thanks very much, Jenny.
It's wonderful to have more UWA people in Parliament. Yeah.
I bet there have been a few in the past.
There have indeed, yes. And of course your family's got a long collection, as well as you being a graduate of UWA, your father, your mother's been heavily involved doing wonderful things with Friends of the Grounds, I remember. So, you know, it's much appreciated, the Chaney contribution. Well, and Uncle Fred.
Lots of uncles and aunties who've been students over the years as well.
Yeah, that's right. So that's great. So, how have you found your first few weeks in Parliament?
Well, it's been really interesting. To be fair, I've only had 3 days in Parliament and then I got COVID. So I missed the second sitting week. I was in an Airbnb in Canberra watching it, online instead. But based on that first week, and in the second week I was still attending meetings, it's a steep learning curve. Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting place. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to retain some of my naivety intentionally to remember that some things don't have to be the way they are. They can be changed. So there has been a good sense that things are being done differently, and the government has shown some willingness to work collaboratively and openly. So that's really promising.
Yes, that's great then. So, how did UWA help prepare you for your career?
Well, I really loved my time at UWA. Mm-hmm. I studied arts to start with and then transferred to law and finished my law degree. And then some years later I came back to do a graduate certificate in social impact, which I didn't complete because it was not a great time of life to be studying with 2 small children and working as well. But I've really enjoyed all of those experiences. And I think, really when I think about how UWA equipped me, it was as much about the extracurricular stuff that I did at uni as the academic side, and that rich campus life and being involved in different clubs and organisations and meeting a broad range of people. I think you learn really important social skills and those soft skills that will help in any work environment.
Are there particular clubs that you were particularly involved in?
I was involved in Uni Camp for Kids.
Oh, great.
In fact, I met my husband at Uni Camp for Kids. My parents also met at Uni Camp for Kids. I was president of the Student Social Club. Right. And also involved in Uni Dramatic Society in my first year, in Leisure Club, so quite a broad range of clubs while I was here, as well as involvement when I was in the law school.
The Blackstone.
Peripherally.
Yes, I know. Interesting how that range kind of rounds out the whole experience.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, I suppose thinking about convocation, Convocation has just developed a new strategic plan, which we're sort of gradually will be beginning to implement over the next few months. And one of the things we're planning to do is for some individual members of Convocation Council to become involved with schools, perhaps those they have a bit of, when I say schools, academic schools, that they have some sort of association with, and to through this, help in the development of work-integrated learning and internships, because we've got, 141,000 graduates out there in a variety of roles, and so we're kind of a natural linkage. And I'm wondering how you feel that the whole work experience thing as a student can help. Do you believe it can help?
I think it's a really good idea. When I was at uni the first time, I felt like I really wanted to do that for as long as possible and put off going into the real world for as long as possible because it seemed quite scary.
Yeah.
And going and having some work experience during your degree would be a really good way to demystify the work world and help you see that it's just like any other a group of people, a family or a school or university, and demystify that. Obviously, there are the professional benefits as well of seeing what you're studying being used in practice, but that broader sense of understanding how organisations work and stepping up and having a role in that would be something that I think would be really important to get out of that work experience. Yes,
yeah, well, it's something that universities are generally moving towards, and particularly UWA is stepping up in this kind of direction. So we hope that we're able to help in that way because, I agree, it could be very valuable for students.
One thing that I think would be really useful, though, is not to be too focused on exactly what you plan to do afterwards and get some breadth of experience through that work experience program. You never really know how the different parts of your life are going to fit together to form your career, and so being open to different work experience is a good way to be exposed to that without having to commit too early.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah. Tertiary education, of course, has got the power to change individuals. I mean, really, it changes your life, And I'm wondering if you've got particular advice for current students as to how they should gain the most from their degree experience.
Probably my biggest piece of advice is turn up. So physically being there and being part of that university community it teaches you a completely different set of skills to just doing the work. And I think now it is very easy to only spend time with people who you are choosing to spend time with, and we lose that ability to collaborate, to form relationships with people that we wouldn't necessarily choose to spend time with.
Yeah.
But the work world is like that. So being present, thinking, following your passions outside your studies as well, and really making the most of the wonderful time of life that it is, both intellectually to challenge yourself, but also socially to fully experience everything that a university life has to offer.
And of course, we've got a wonderful campus too, a beautiful campus for learning here.
It is a gorgeous campus, and on the way here I was talking with Joe Trilling from my team, and we were reflecting on the days that we'd spent lolling on the lawns and drinking coffee and chatting. So that is a really important part of the experience.
Oh yeah, well. I think Coffee 101 is an important part of the university experience. So now getting to the broader world, the state and the Australian economy, how do you see it developing over the next, it's a big question, how do you see WA and the world economy developing over the next decade or so?
Decarbonisation is going to be a huge part of how our economy develops. And when we look at the history of Western Australia, we've made some really bold infrastructure decisions that have enabled these waves of economic growth. So we built a pipeline to Kalgoorlie, which enabled the gold rush. We made some bold decisions about the Northwest Shelf, which created our gas boom. And really now we're on the cusp of that next wave of economic activity. And we have everything here that positions us well to be a superpower in renewable energy. And what I think we'll see in the next decade or two, hopefully, is our economy shifting to focus on those opportunities and making those long-term investment decisions that position us to continue exporting energy to the world, but in a way that is consistent with the economy of 20 or 50 years from now, rather than focusing on the past.
Yes, yeah. We have got the transition period to go through, and I'm wondering how you see the role of gas and renewables in that complex transition period.
And gas does have a role to play. One of the challenges around gas, I think, is that if you look at a 1.5 degree scenario, there's enough gas already in the world, or enough gas projects already in the world to deliver the gas we need to transition. So there are some really tough challenges ahead for our economy. There will be gas for some time, but we don't know how much or which gas or for how long. So in that sort of uncertainty, it will be really important for us to be focusing on being ahead in that transition and developing the technology that we need to ensure that we're part of that renewable wave, rather than only seeing our role as being in relation to gas as in its transitional capacity.
Now, the world's going to be evolving. Well, the world always does evolve rapidly, but the world is going to be evolving quite rapidly. Do you think that then requires special personal traits for students to develop?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Over the next 20 or 50 years, technical skills, I think, are going to become a whole lot less critical, because we will see that shift in automation. And creativity and agency will be really important. So, and going back a bit to what I said about getting that broad experience, I think being present and feeling like you can actually change the things that you think need to be changed is what will set apart the leaders of the next generation. So we need, you need to be able to think and learn how to think critically, and that those broad thinking skills will be vital, but also just a sense of ownership of your own future and a sense that you can actually influence the places that you work. And having worked in a broad range of different workplaces, it's often underestimated what you bring as a new graduate in terms of contributing to the culture of an organisation. So I think turning up and knowing that you are an important part of that fabric and you are part of defining who we are and what we do and what we stand for in a workplace will be what's important.
Yes, thank you, Kate. It's an exciting future. There's tremendous potential in that, and I think it's going to be fascinating, when students, today's students get to our age, to think about what they've gone through and the kind of skills that they have, learned in the university sector and put into application. And I really hear what you're saying about creative and critical thinking, because I too think those are incredibly valuable for the future.
The technical skills that you learn at uni will change. Your ability to think and acquire new knowledge and apply it and be agile in how you use it is the thing that will continue to be useful.
Yes, and in a sense we've been learning about agility and pivoting during this pandemic phase too. Okay, then, well, look, thank you very much indeed, Kate. That's been terrific to talk to you and hear about some of your thoughts for the future.
My pleasure, and I'm so sorry I can't be at the event in person.
Yes, well, another time.
Thanks.
So.